Hi, I'm Kendal,
Hi, I'm Anna.
and this is the Yes No Maybe podcast.
We both met at a place called Chiltern Firehouse in London, which was quite an exclusive hotel.
Not quite, very.
Very exclusive hotel where anybody who's anybody came through the doors, which we were allowed to say yes, no, or maybe to.
Yeah, it was our job to let them in or not. And as a result, we have mixed with, I would say, the top 1%. Learned some really valuable skills, learned how to navigate a room, network with the who's who, but also find our own individual voices and figure out how we want to use our creativity to kind of move forward and go after what we really want. When I first met you, I had been working there for what was it, like 2 years before you arrived?
Yeah, I think so, around about then.
And I remember you standing at the desk and I was like, dang, this girl, and you say, I always say this, I know, but this is my perspective. I sort of saw you and I was like, you are classy. I always pictured you as this Downton Abbey kind of regal being. And then I got to know you and realized you're actually this badass rock star, musician, creative, like super talented person that I really wanted to get to know.
Same, likewise, so classy, so beautiful. And also, you're quite guarded, actually. But then when you start to strip the layers down, you're so talented in so many areas. And I'm so grateful to have met you, and you are my bestie now. So the fact that we're working on this project together is very special. So
likewise.
And we both have our little creative endeavors and side hustles that we kind of worked around working in this crazy firehouse that has now burnt down. And
let's I think we should talk about that because that's a huge part of where we've come from. And for me personally, I feel like working in a space like that has really made me feel I don't know, it's given me the tools to kind of tackle this industry in a way that I never ever imagined possible. First of all, the reason why I started working there in the first place was because I had decided that I really wanted to pursue the acting route. And I really wanted to put that first and stop having so many plan Bs.
Yeah.
So I needed to find a job where I could work late at night. So I had my day so I could audition and I could write and do all those things. And suddenly found that I got sucked into this world that is very, very hard to explain to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you explain to people that you're constantly surrounded by the top 1%? You have Kate Hudson over there, and then you have some billionaire over there, and then you have, you're just surrounded by people you could never dream of.
Yeah.
And you're getting to know all these people on a different level, although we thought it was a different level. But actually, you kind of realize that you're still staff and you're still working there and you're not actually part of the 1%.
But it's this kind of false sense where you feel like you are part of it.
Yeah.
In this kind of weird world. It's very hard to explain.
Yeah. But why did you start working there, and what was the whole...
I didn't even know about it. I lived in the area at the time, and I'd been to the restaurant, and I was looking for something part-time that I could focus on my creative endeavors, being a songwriter and in music, and I was working on different projects at the time, and then got sucked into this space that I knew nothing about in this world where every day you just don't know what's going to happen. It kind of feels like a crazy afters every night.
Every single night.
And you don't know who's going to come through the doors, and you're meeting all these amazing talented staff who've all got their own creative, whether they're an actor or a model or a songwriter or a costume designer or whatever it is. And you're in this world, and it's completely changed both of our lives in many ways.
I think that's something that I've realized, like inadvertently, I've kind of become a bit passionate about, is like this idea that like people in hospitality, a lot of them are there because it's a choice, and I think a lot of staff are seen as less than, or that they are there because they aren't talented
to serve
or not smart enough or whatever. Super talented individuals that haven't been given the opportunities that they need yet. The right doors haven't opened for them. They're just waiting on a yes, which is a huge part of being a creative, it's a huge part of life in general, is waiting for that door to open just ever so slightly, you know, which was a huge part of what we did.
Yeah.
Opening and closing a door.
Yeah. Saying yes, no, maybe to many people.
To many people. People that, you know, that we liked, we didn't like, that we got to know, friends, having to say no to friends because, you know, the room needed to be a certain way. It was hard, you know.
Really hard.
But it taught me boundaries. It taught me how to say no to the most
powerful people
in the world. And I think it's taught me how to network in a way that like I would never have known before.
That kind of hustler mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. And how important it is to like go after what you want. I think there's something pretty wild about also like seeing how the top 1% navigate and how they make things happen. It's just a different mindset.
And how powerful your network is. I mean, it's everything. Obviously talent and hard work, but who you know is pivotal to whether you make it or not. And I think working there really taught me that. I knew that, but working and seeing it and how small a community it is and how everybody knows each other, it's so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that all the time, that I didn't realize how important it is to know the right people, because it's the right people that will give you the opportunities. Because when I arrived to London, I knew no one. Like, no one. I hadn't even heard of the Chiltern Firehouse. I knew not a single soul here. And I was like, I have no idea. I remember being on the tube one day and looking around at all these people. And I was like, how is it that people make it, whatever that means, when there are thousands of people on this tube alone, you know, well, not thousands of people. I mean, can you imagine? But there are thousands of people that go throughout the day. But just like, you know, there's so many people trying to make it. How are you going to be the one to stand out and do it? And it felt somewhat impossible. But when you're then surrounding yourself by the right people, suddenly you think, okay, maybe it is possible. Because again, I think it's a mindset thing, you know. When we talk about like how we got our name, yes, no, maybe, where that come from?
Oh, that's a kind of crazy story, isn't it? Well, the name, we initially came, you've worked on a project before where you were working and filming and interviewing at Cannes and people, Oscar winners and things. So we were originally going to go for that name, and then we were chatting about our ideas with Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah.
And he we love Baz, fantastic human. And he said, ladies, I've got an idea for a name. He disappeared, came back, and in 5 minutes he'd had a whole name, had a whole plan. And it was yes, no, maybe, and kind of spinning it with our role on the door of, you know, is it a yes, is it a no, is it a maybe coming in, and tying it with the creative endeavors. And we just thought it was great.
I
loved it.
I just remember it so clearly, him just coming up and being like, ladies, I have it. We were like, yeah, tell us, like, you know, it's Baz Luhrmann, like, tell us, what do you think? And it was so quick.
Yeah.
He's just a creative genius.
He really is.
And we were like, that is it. That's what we've been needing. It makes so much sense.
It's positive, it's fun, but it's so true. It's all about the yes, the no's, and the maybes.
Yeah. Life is about the yes, no's, and maybes. Everything in life. You know, like whether you walk through that door or you don't, or you get something or you don't, or you're waiting on something, you know, rejection, resilience, all of that is part of yes, no, and maybe. That is what life is. You know, it's made up of a million moments like that.
Has there ever been a yes that you've said in your life that's changed your life forever?
Yeah, I think I had a moment last year actually where there was a project I really wanted to work on, and I hustled, you know, to kind of be a part of something. Can't really talk about it right now. I can't really say what it is yet, but
Exciting.
It will
things
be
ahead.
out soon, people. But I think, there was a lot of fear associated with that as well, as an actor and being terrified that am I enough, and is my talent enough, and my ability enough, and saying yes and jumping in to such a scary environment that was a new thing for me changed a lot for me. I came out with a different sense of confidence. And I mean, you even said it. You were like, there's like an aura about you where suddenly I was like, oh, I could do it. I went onto a set with 300 people and I was having to perform, and I did it. And I walked away and I was like, yeah, fucking nailed that. And that was a moment for me. What about you?
I remember it was a night, this was many years ago.
Yeah.
Probably I'm going to say like 6 or 7 years ago. And it was a night I was in my PJs and my friend was like, come on, come out, we're going for dinner. And I was really hesitant and I just wasn't feeling, it was going through a kind of low confidence phase. I put on my clothes, I went out for dinner. We ended up playing a game of pool. It was at Soho House in White City. I remember it very vividly. And there was a guy having dinner and he was laughing because I'm terrible at pool and I was knocking the ball off the pool table.
I'm really good at pool.
You're good at pool?
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. You can teach me.
Yeah.
And he was laughing and I went, well, if you're so good, you play the winner. Obviously, I didn't win. So he was chatting to us and we said, what were you doing? He said, I'm going on the Lorraine Kelly show tomorrow. So I was thinking in my head, he must be someone quite interesting. Anyway, he told us his name and he was a singer. And my friend goes, she sings. And I went bright red and I was like, no, I'm not a legit singer like you. And he was like, well, come on, sing to me. I'd love to hear you sing. And I was kind of umming and ahhing, had a couple of drinks, sang to him. And he went, wow, you're incredible. Come on tour with me. And I was like, you're joking. And he was like, no, come on tour. Here's my details. Here's my email. Send me some of your music, some stuff that you've done. So the next day I followed up. He sent it to his management. They loved it. They said, come on tour. Here are our dates. So the first show that I did was in Edinburgh at the Usher Hall, which was, I grew up in Edinburgh. So that was one of my bucket list venues. No sound check. Rocked up on the night of the show, 3,500 people. And I remember going to the venue and I rocked up and I said, I'm singing tonight. And they were like, okay. And they radioed and I went in and I did a quick sound check. And I remember going up to the engineer and he was like, so these are your in-ears. I'd never used in-ear monitors before. And I was like, how do you put them in? And he went, you've never used in-ear monitors before? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay. And then I went, did sound check, and then we did the show. And I literally learned the song 2 days before because they changed all of the music of what we were going to do. So I went on and I did a duet with him and I did a couple of other shows and off the back of that did a record, and my life changed. And that was through, if I just decided to sit on the sofa in my PJs and not do anything, that wouldn't have happened. You just kind of gotta, when a door opens, you just gotta walk through and just say yes. Even if you're scared, you just gotta, fight the fear. Because you were saying earlier when we were chatting that you need that fear. That fear drives you.
Oh yeah. Because we were asking ourselves whether if we could eliminate fear of failure forever. Fear of failure, yes. Fear, no. Because when you're terrified, I find that's often when you do your best work. Because it drives you, it gives you, I don't know, there's something, the butterflies in your tummy, that feeling, the can't I do this? Actually, when you're forced to, when you've been thrown into the fire, lol.
Yeah. Nice choice of words.
Sorry. But when you've been thrown into it, you find that you're stronger than you thought and more confident than you thought, and you're able to just pull it out the bag and make it happen. I have never heard that story before.
You never heard that story?
You never told me that story.
Well, there we go.
So I'm very happy that you shared that, because that's incredible.
It was one of the scariest things musically that I've done. But I did it because it was an opportunity and I was like, I have to do this. I was terrified.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. I wung it and I just kind of said yes.
So sometimes you just have to just grab life by the balls and
go for it.
Say yes.
And say yes.
Okay. So how are we feeling now that the whole, everything has shifted for us this year?
I mean, I thought I was still going to be at the firehouse.
Yeah, me too.
We went in and we watched it burn. We sat in a restaurant and we watched it on fire, all in tears, all lost. It felt for the last, I mean, it's been, what, a month now since it burned?
Yeah, it's been a month. And I remember that afternoon, you and I were at home. We were supposed to go in because we were going to have a big BAFTAs weekend.
Yeah.
And we were ready. I put eyelashes on. I never put eyelashes on.
You never put eyelashes on and you were ready.
I was ready. I had my lashes on and I was like, my makeup is done. I am so ready to have the best night. And then we got a message from one of our colleagues being like, yo guys, the firehouse is on fire.
Yeah.
And we were like, what? And I remember you saying
I was like, it's Valentine's Day. Maybe we can have the night off.
And I remember you saying to me, oh, I don't want to lose my job. And I was like, we're not going to lose our job. What are you talking about? It's a firehouse.
Yeah.
They should know how to manage a fire, Yeah. And then we were getting these videos sent to us, and we were
serious.
And we were on the phone, and we were like, no, we should go in.
Yeah.
We should get there. And I remember running, because I was like, no, everyone's there, and I don't want to not be there if it does burn down, this place that actually I really care about,
There's a family. It's a community, and thankfully no one got hurt. I mean, that was the most important thing, that everyone was okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just being in that restaurant, watching it was so surreal.
It was weirdly poetic because we had
playlist in the background.
Oh, it was so sad.
They were playing songs about your life burning down as we were watching it. I mean, you could not write it.
Yeah. And we're all sitting there, and one of our colleagues saying it's a front row seat to the end of the world. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, we wrote it on our notes.
Yeah. We were like, we need to write that one down because it felt like that. It felt super surreal, like this place that people love so much is just possibly no longer. And that means it's time for a pivot, It was like, okay, well,
Band-Aid's been ripped off. We actually have to do something else and not have that as a crutch.
Yeah, we have to figure it out now, because I think one of the things about that space was that it was a little bit like golden handcuff scenario, in that we were meeting the most incredible people. We were having some of the best experiences of our lives, right?
And it was comfortable. It was kind of, we were using that, like going back to what you said, you were in this environment, so you felt like you'd made it, even though you were working there. And it was this sort of false sense of security. Whereas now we have to do the work. We have to to shoot for our dreams. Yeah, exactly. So and it will be a blessing. And also this podcast has been born through that. So yeah, it has been. And it's all part of the story. It's all part of our story. And also one of the most beautiful things about coming out of that space is realizing that we can do it, and that we have it in us to be able to do it. And that, someone once said to me at like 3 a.m. when I was at the door, and we were opening and closing that door and letting people in, and it was cold. And someone once said to me, why are you looking to everyone else in this room to be the superhero that you need in your life, when in actual fact you are the superhero in your life? And I was like, okay, what does that really mean? I was like, let me try and figure that one out. But actually, yeah, why am I looking to all these other people to help me when in actual fact I already have it in me to do it myself? And sometimes you just need a little kick in the bum, which this has been for us, to kind of realize, hey, we got it. We can do it. We got each other. And we've got something beautiful coming out of it, Absolutely. So yeah, on to bigger, greater, wonderful, more exciting endeavors. Absolutely. We've got some fun questions. Should we bring them out? Let's bring the questions out. Okay. Also, I've got some jelly babies because the Broadwick always provide us with snacks. Don't have a blue one because you don't want your tongue to go blue, but I'm going to have a little green one. They always provide us with these lots of snacks. Yeah. So good. Now they're just going to hear all this chewing. Oh, that's true. Lots of chewing. Okay. Okay. Let's do a quick little shuff. Do apologize in advance for the camera. Yeah, okay. Okay. The chewing. Do famous people tip better? I'm very impressed at how fast you finished that jelly baby. I swallowed it, so I didn't chew. Wow, that's impressive. Gee whiz.
I mean, we both know the answer to this.
No.
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 Famous people tend to leave without paying the bill. That's kind of what
Free lunches.
Free lunches, free
Yeah.
everything.
Free everything.
Famous people get free everything. I mean, it's actually mental.
I actually trying to think of a famous person that's tipped. I can't think of anyone.
Neither can I.
Can't name either, but
No. But they definitely don't. They the amount of people that walked out on their bills was like insane. So no, yeah, I'll do one. Okay. What's more powerful, talent, belief, or timing? Oof. Talent, belief, or timing?
belief.
Belief, definitely.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, can't. You need to hustle. You need to seize the opportunities.
Yeah.
Because if you're just sitting on talent, I know a lot of people that are incredibly talented. I know an incredibly talented producer, and his music just sits in his hard drive and his laptop, and he's never released them because he's striving for perfection, and he doesn't think it's good enough. And I just think, if you just had that belief, if you just released it, you just need to get it. You just need to get your art and your work out there.
Yeah, that's
and
so
timing
true.
timing is great, but if you don't have that belief in yourself, you're never gonna.
Also, some of the most talented people you can learn. I don't want to say you can learn. I feel like maybe you are born with talent, but you can learn skills and you can improve and you can get better. Some of the most successful people that I know are not the most talented. They just work the hardest, But yeah, and timing is completely out of our control anyway. It's important, but we can hope and pray and wish and try and conjure up an opportunity that may never come, So yeah, I would agree. It's definitely belief. If you don't have
Interesting
belief.
What you say about being born with talent. So you believe that you're born with talent and it's not learned?
No, I think some people have something that's innately in them. It's that thing. I think you can't. I think you're born with the X factor or whatever that is. That thing that makes you
star quality.
Yes, I think skills can always be learned. I think you can strive to become better at something, and if you work damn hard, you could most likely achieve it. But not everyone has that thing that makes you stand out from a crowd. I think that's innately in you.
Okay, interesting.
What do you think?
I think that talent can be learned for sure.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of on the fence.
Yeah. Would you say yes if you could instantly erase all fear of failure from your mind?
Yes, because that's my biggest setback. However, going back to what you said earlier, you do need failure. Sorry, you do need fear
and failure.
Yeah,
yeah,
because then you grow. That you learn.
Yeah.
I don't know what to
yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
it's so true. Like without it, you can't get better. You can't, think about it. Some of the biggest lessons we've learned in life have been from.
I just don't think there's any such thing as failure.
No, I don't think so.
Because you're always learning.
Yeah.
There's always a lesson. So you're winning.
Yeah.
If you just focus on that.
If you change the narrative.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, that's
my turn or your turn?
Go.
Okay. Have you ever thought maybe I should just get a normal job?
Yes. But it hasn't been a thought that's like, it's been a fleeting thought. It's been like, maybe I should just get a real job. You know, how people have said over my life, why don't you just go get like an office job? I think my soul would die if I had an office job. I've never had an office job in my life. I've done the most random jobs you can imagine. And like my CV could be a plethora of like the most interesting things anyone has ever done. But no, no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
I mean, I've always done stuff the most career thing I ever did was obviously being like a therapist and doing treatments and things like that. But I always did that as on the side so that I could focus on being creative. Because if I'm not creative, then I just don't see the point. That's what drives me. That's what gives me purpose.
So here's a question. Do you think that artists need to suffer to create good art? Do you think that needs to be part of the artist's narrative?
No, because people say, oh, to create good art, you need to have had a tortured life or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, there is incredible art out there from very tortured artists, and I've definitely used my struggles to write. But I don't believe that means that you're going to produce great art. I think beautiful art is created from
anything.
From anything. I think sometimes you just grab them from the ether, amazing ideas or whatever. You just pluck them out of the ether and they come, regardless.
I mean, I think life is about struggle anyway. It's part of it. So, you know, in order to be a good writer or to be an artist in whatever way or singer-songwriter, you've got to have lived. I do believe that. I think you've got to have experienced the world. It gives you more empathy. It gives you an ability to relate to people in a different way. You know, you're very good like that. You are very good at picking up on people's energy, but also kind of like one thing I've always admired about you is you can talk to anyone, like the richest person on the planet to like the street sweeper in the same way, and you do it with such empathy.
We all put our pants on in the morning. We're all the same.
We're all just people.
We're all the same, you know. Yeah. Everyone's just on their journey.
Yeah, but you're really good
everyone's
at that.
Got a story.
Everyone's got a story. That's true. That's true. Not everyone takes the time to find out about people's stories though, and you're very good at that.
So are you.
Do you believe everything happens for a reason?
I think you should answer this.
Me? Well, I used to. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out life right now, like the big questions. I don't know if everything happens for a reason. I think you have to put your best step forward, and you have to be open to what can be, what can come your way, what can happen, without trying to control stuff too much.
Trust the universe.
Yeah. I've always liked to control. I've always liked to, well, if no one's going to do it, I'll just do it. I'll just make it happen for myself. It's very hard for me to just let go. And I think now with like losing our work space and having not much coming out of there and having to reevaluate everything, it's made me be like, okay, it might not look like I had planned in my head, but I'm open to what is coming. And I'm just going to say yes.
And you could have gone, I'm in a financial situation, I'm out of work, and gone and got an office job. But instead you've gone 100% creative.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's obviously changed you and shaped you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Actually, it's your turn to pick.
I just did one.
Rude. And have you ever been at an exclusive event and thought, how the hell did I get here?
Yes. All the time. Over the last year especially.
Yes.
Like you and I have had some of the wildest experiences.
Pinch me
moments.
Yeah.
Like absolutely pinch me moments. Like I this last year was in the garage at the F1, like watching like Daniel Ricciardo like in his car, and I was like, what the fuck? This is insane. But I like, you know, it's like yeah. So many times it's like, how did we get here? Why are we here? You know, we've been to some parties at people's homes where we're like, we've never seen a house like this ever in our lives, and we're like, whose party are we at?
How did we get here?
How did we get here? Yeah, all the time.
Just say yes.
Just say yes. Exactly. Just say yes. Okay, we'll do like a couple more. Would you rather let in your worst enemy or turn away your favorite celebrity at the door?
To be fair, I don't really have any enemies. So
I mean, half of London's probably our enemy now, but
probably letting my worst enemy, because I wouldn't want to turn away my favorite celebrity.
who is your favorite celebrity?
I've got many.
Yeah. Do you get starstruck?
I get
I mean, you
starstruck
do.
by the weirdest people.
You do get starstruck. I've seen you get
Like,
starstruck.
I definitely get starstruck. There's been times when I've like,
when Anna gets starstruck, she gets giddy.
I
and
have
then
to
she
sit
runs
in
away.
front of the fan and blow air on my face to calm down, which you've also done.
I've also, yes, I've had a few of those moments.
But starstruck by the weirdest people.
Yeah.
It's not the ones you'd expect.
Yeah.
But I do still get starstruck, but I'm definitely desensitized from working at the
That
Firehouse.
happens. That happens. Like that. It's weird because
Yeah.
you realize that actually everyone's just normal.
And they're texting you on your personal phone,
Yeah.
or they'll come up and you'll have chats, and
Yeah.
it definitely changes your thought about changes my mind about celebrities.
Yeah, you realize that they're not these like people that we see on TV. In actual fact, they're human beings, and you know, they like to drink what they like to drink, and they like to do what they like to do, and they're very normal.
Yeah.
So yeah. If given the chance, would you say yes to seeing your future exactly 10 years from now?
No. Because I wouldn't want to know what loved ones had passed or were still with me. And unless I got the chance to maybe tweak a few things, but I just don't think it would be positive for me.
Yeah, same. I wouldn't want to. Yeah, unless you're able to break the rules and change the choices you make to change the outcome of what may be, then no, I wouldn't. I mean, I'd love to know what's coming like next month.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to a couple clairvoyants recently, and that's been like a whole new experience.
And what did they say?
It was actually very interesting. It was like, I believe in that stuff. I do. And I think when you're sitting in front of someone and they can mention names that only you know that are from your family and things that have happened in your life, you start to be like, okay, there's something here, you know. So sometimes it's nice to kind of have an inkling of what, like a sprinkling of what may be coming, but I don't want to know where I'm going to be in 10 years. I think that would actually scare me.
Oh, so where's the fun? The fun is in the journey.
Exactly.
Not the end game.
We have to keep reminding ourselves that, though.
Yes, we do.
It's actually very important because like I struggle with that.
Same.
You know, the
you want to get to the outcome, and it's like, well, no, this is you just gotta
the idea that we need
to
get there, and then we've made it, but what is there? What is that? You know, the journey is life. It's the
tummy. Sorry,
no, it's fine. My tummy talks too. They're joining the pod.
Yeah. The thing is, wait, am I pulling? Or are you pulling?
It's your turn.
Let's go. What's the most insane right place, right time moment you've experienced?
That's a really hard question because
doesn't necessarily have to be career.
No, there's been a lot of little like moments. It's like, what is that saying that there's no such thing as coincidences. It's God's dang. I'm literally butchering the saying. It's like it's supposed
I know
to
what
be,
you mean.
It's
I know
supposed
exactly
to be so profound, but actually it's just anyway. There's a saying about like small coincidences in life that they're not actually coincidences. That they're there for a reason. And I've had many moments.
Any standout ones you could share?
I'm trying to.
I mean, I can share one while you think.
Yeah, please.
This is quite deep.
Yeah, go.
But it's do you know Davina McCall? She did this show about finding your family.
I don't know.
It's like a TV show where they trace old loved ones and family trees, and they connect people, and they've either never met or they've not seen each other for a long time. It's quite emotional. Well, I remember I was watching that with some friends, and I'm adopted, so I was adopted from a baby, and I had never met my biological family. They're in America, and my friend was like, "Do you have any sort of documentation or anything?" And I said, "I've got 2 A4 pieces of paper that are typewritten, like faded typewritten notes with like first names, like nothing where I could trace anything." I'd gone to America when I was 18 with my mum, who raised me, who's my mum, and they said we have no information. You'd need to get a private investigator, which costs a lot of money, and it's quite stressful. Anyway, I brought the paperwork down, and my friend sat with me, and he was looking at them, and he went, "Your grandmother's like maiden name is like faded here. I reckon if you went on archives, you'd be able to find something." And I was like, "Really?" And then I became obsessed over the weekend, and I was like going on like public archives, and I managed to find my birth mother's surname and like a old marriage thing. And I went on Facebook, and I just typed and typed and typed, and I found my half brother, my birth mother, and my birth father.
Wow.
And I was, their pages are private. So I zoomed in, and I was like, do they look like me? Do they kind of look like me? And I must have emailed several other people that weren't my birth family, but I slid into the DMs and I said, "My name's Anna. I think that you might be my biological family."
Wow.
And it was the longest 4 days of my life. But my half brother emailed me back and DM'd me back and said, "Oh my God, you exist. You're real." And that was I guess you could say that was a right place, right time moment, because if I hadn't been watching that show and I hadn't been with my friend, then they hadn't looked, the papers would have just been sitting in my filing cabinet. And I ended up going and meeting my birth family at 27 and flying over to Texas, and that was a thing.
The Firehouse in 3 words, go.
Batshit crazy.
Well done. Hey, that's brilliant.
I don't know if I can say that.
That is absolute perfection in terms of describing it. I don't know how else to describe it.
But in a great way.
In the best way.
In the best way.
In the best way. Like the like happy, sad, crazy, mad, like the stories.
The stories that I wish we could share.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day we can share them. Every night kind of it felt a bit like we were in this weird like time warp of like this world where anyone who's anyone came together, and
you never knew what was going to happen. Any day could be different. You just couldn't plan for anything. It was kind of like an after party every night.
It was a little bit like a playground.
Yeah.
And well, not a little bit. It felt like we were the teachers and everyone else
with the naughty students running around causing chaos and mischief.
Causing chaos.
But also, we also caused a bit of mischief too.
So much. So much. I mean, some of my favorite memories are just like moments at the door. We had 2 guys trying to get in one night. I think it was like a quiet night. And I remember they were, trying to charm us and really trying their best to schmooze their way in. And I think we got them to like stand on
improvised dance
song. I think we got them to stand on like one foot, one leg, and sing and then dance. And because we'd given them a challenge, we were like, if you can do this, and they were like, right, we're up for it. And we were like, okay, much respect, get in,
come in,
and have a good time. And I think they ended up actually being,
great vibe in the room.
Yeah. And they came back a few times, and
it's all about energy.
All about energy. I think also some of my favorite moments was just you and I just kind of running around,
causing mischief, and just hanging out with my best friend, just working and meeting amazing people. I mean, it's sad that it burnt down, because I think we probably would have still stayed there for a while.
Yeah.
But there's blessings in, sometimes one door shuts and another door opens, and we have to use this opportunity as a way of
spreading thy wings.
And focusing on creative endeavors, which is why we were there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we weren't there as a career. We were there to, meet people in our industries, to have a sort of side job so that we could focus on our main hustle, really.
Yeah. I think it was very easy to lose sight of that. Why we were there.
Why do you think?
Because there's so much of it's weird. There's so much of the glitz and the glam, but it wasn't glamorous, like the job was not glamorous, but you're surrounded by it. It kind of gives you that like dopamine like fix that you need. It's like, I'm chatting with so-and-so and I've built this one and this one's contacting me on my personal phone, and I'm going out for coffee with this director, and, you know, and it kind of becomes this, you know, we hold the keys to the most exclusive place in the country. It gives you this weird
false sense of power.
Yeah.
Because you're on the same sort of level in that space, because they need us to let them in. Everybody wants something from you. Our phones were going off every day, every night. And how genuine was it?
That was one of the hardest things, was how do we know who our friends are? Because honestly, the amount of times people would say like, I want to get a coffee with you, and then would never follow up. And it almost felt a bit like...
Or you would go for coffee and you think, are there ulterior motives here?
You could read into it.
But it really taught you to kind of see the genuine in people. But some people are very good at hiding that.
Really good at hiding
really
it.
Really good.
And that's another thing that we've learned, I guess, is learning to call the bullshit. Because people are full of bullshit, man.
Full of bullshit.
like that is a space where that has given us like the skills to be able to like read someone, like you said earlier, in 5 minutes. You know. But
sometimes you have to play the game or do you have to play the game to get to where you want to get to?
I think so.
Why do we have to do that?
I just think that's the way it works. I just think that, like, I don't know. Someone once said to me, you don't have to break the rules to get ahead. You have to bend them. And that for me, it was quite profound, because I was like, okay, so if I don't have to break them, but I have to bend them, what does that really mean? And is that what all the people that are succeeding, is that what they're doing?
Have you bent the rules?
I think so. Not in bad ways. Like, geez, like,
no,
bloody hell. Yeah. No, but I think in the way that you kind of hustle. You and I are both hustlers.
Absolutely.
We know what we got to do.
We also learn a lot of that in working in that space.
Exactly.
Just through observing.
Exactly. So you know,
as a creative, you have to hustle.
You have to.
You know,
every person next to you is trying to get ahead. I think like everyone's trying to win. Everyone's trying to look after themselves. So you have to hustle. You have to, you have to go further than the next person, and that doesn't mean doing bad things. It just means you've got to know when to play the game in the right moments, I think.
It took a while for me to accept that, because I don't like that thought of competing with people and trying to win over someone. I was almost trying to just master, winning over myself and getting over my self-doubt and things like that. But it's true, like you have to believe in yourself, otherwise no one's going to believe in you. And you have to blag a little bit. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Hustle. Yeah. Because no one else is gonna do that for you. And I spent a long time trying to wait for someone to save me and to why aren't they helping? You got to help yourself.
Yeah. No one's coming to save you.
And after what's happened with the firehouse and the fire, we got thrown into the deep end with no work and working in this place where it was very comfortable. I think we would have stayed there a lot longer than we should have, because it was an amazing place to work, and some some memories that I will never forget, and life-changing opportunities. But now we're in the deep end, and we got to do it.
What is one of your favorite moments from there? Like something that like you can share, because I have one in my head. I've got two in my head.
Right, you go first, and I'm gonna think.
Okay, so I think like one of my best days, and that was one of those moments where I walked away and I was like, did this just happen? Was
what, from like an experience or like a hustling?
No, an experience.
Okay.
So we were it was about 5 a.m. now at work, which was rare to stay that late, because we typically leave at like 3. And Mike Myers was there. And yeah,
such a good soul.
And I was sitting with my colleague in the lounge, and he came down and he said, can I join you? And we were like, oh, of course, come and sit with us. and he offered us a drink, and we sat there chatting, and he started telling us stories about his life. And soon the last few people that were still in the bar came and sat around. There must have been 30 of us, people sitting on the floor, sitting on the couches, standing, just listening to him talk about his experiences, why he started acting, writing, directing. Just, yeah. And I remember leaving the firehouse. It was now 6 a.m. The sun was coming up. I was like, I can't believe this. I've been here all night. But what an experience to sit down and have Mike Myers sit next to me and like just input words of wisdom and hear his stories and hear from one of the greatest legends of all time, you know? So that was one of those moments where I was like, I actually cannot believe that this is my job and that I get to experience this in this way, you know? My other one was going into the kitchen at 3 a.m. and getting fries and
miss the chicken
and, you know, the chefs and our relationship with them, and just really just running around that place like it was our home away from home, you know, as like the guests have said as well, it's a home away from home. And I think that's probably been the hardest thing about letting it go.
The community and the people, and there's nothing like it. There will never be anything like it. You can't replicate it. There's a magic there, a kind of wild energy, and it felt like someone had died.
Yeah,
like,
it did.
For like 2 weeks. But I'm so grateful that obviously I've met you through there, and I've made some amazing friends, and we will still, and the community is still going. But yeah, it's end of a little era until it is open again.
Yeah.
It opens its gates.
A bit like Studio 54, you know, just end of an era, and bigger and better things will come. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see what happens and where this goes, and just, yeah, putting our best foot forward and jumping into the things that we really want to do, you know. It's time.
It is time. I mean, we talked about doing this podcast before we knew what was going to happen. And I think this gave us the kind of kick, right? We need to launch.
Yeah.
There's no time like the present. So we need
time like the present.
So we need to do it.
Yeah. So this is for all you people out there. If you are thinking about doing something, just do it.
Just do it.
Just start.
You know, I think with doing something like this, obviously there was a maybe I've never podcasted before. I know you've got some experience.
But not really podcasting.
And, you know, I've done stuff in front of the camera, and I've done some, you know, stuff on stage, but never anything like this. And I thought, you know, what if no one listens? But, you know, I think there's so much fun to be had. One, I get to hang out with my best friend.
Exactly.
Two, we're going to interview some incredible people. And I love stories. I love getting stories from people. That's something I've loved in every place that I've worked. So we're going to learn.
Yeah.
So there's no...
And if only one person listens, then only the one person listens. Then welcome, and we thank you for being the one person, because, you know, ultimately we're sharing stories, and I think if it helps one person or inspires them or teaches them something, then great. Then we've done our job.
Just have to start. You just have to put it out there.
Yeah.
You know?
So I am so excited.
Very excited.
To be on this adventure with you, my friend.
We got this.
This is the start of something beautiful.
And we've got some very exciting things coming. So
lots of exciting guests and a really fun way to launch. So we can't wait to share it with all of you guys. Cheers. I don't know how to end it.
That was good.
Okay, cool.